Okay, so now I want to add some hair to his chest and his arms, give him that real caveman look. There's a couple of options for that. The first would be to just simply draw some onto his arm, and we can either create a voxel thickness or we can just color. We'll do both to try it out. Maybe not down here where it hits the hand, because then we'll get some clipping probably. Okay, so now we have a little bit of detail that's drawn into the model. Let's add a little thickness on the other arm to see how that feels. That works pretty well, but it is very thick. One voxel on a character that's this size is pretty thick. So I'm going to show a slightly different way of doing this, and I'm going to create an extra model underneath this. I'm going to create a child node for the forearm. This will put an extra node exactly here where my mouse is hovering. If you want to add a child node to something and animate it, the pivot becomes super important. But in our case, we're going to try and cheat that a little bit by leaving the pivot exactly here, which means I shouldn't have to change any animations. And we're going to try and model it with half a voxel thickness. I'm going to duplicate the node and call it left forearm hair. Let's just call it underscore H because the name's getting a bit unwieldy. All right, so now we have this extra node. We're just going to unlink that node. So what we're going to do is duplicate the forearm. So let's get this the way I want it to go. So I'm going to move it half over and also half down. And I'm going to add an extra row to the side here. And you'll see in a second what that gives us. So it gives us thickness, which is nice, but it's also not a full voxels thickness. So all we've done is we've overlapped two models. So let's give it some asymmetry now. We can now just duplicate that over to the other arm. So we can do the same with the chest, which will be easier because we don't have to do any duplicating, and the leg. So I think I'll do that with the chest first. Okay, so now I'm going to create a club for this guy to hit people with. So we have to look at the layout, how one of these blades is made. So it's got three parts. I can only assume that the reason it's three parts is so that the blade can have the trail that you'll see in the game maker whenever you swipe a sword. So now I'm going to export him to the sandbox, to my inventory, and then I'll be able to test him in the game maker. Now I'll test him in the game maker and see how this works. There's our guy. He holds up pretty well from a distance. I would give him another pass, adding maybe a few more hair to the shoulders. I'd also make his hair a little bit more asymmetrical because at the moment it's very symmetrical, but overall he is a caveman who's going around beating things with a giant animal bone. Okay, I hope this has been useful to you. Catch you in the next video.